Good night, everybody. Hope everyone's doing okay. I'm still not going to give my prediction about Brook versus Crawford yet. There are a lot of variables in this fight that you have to look at, but I did see the weigh-in. I did watch some of the stuff that Top Rank had, the interviews, etc. Um, and you know, I'm listening to the commentary on it, and ESPN is just overhyping a lot of stuff. I've heard some really outlandish, silly things. I just want to comment on those things first before I get into anything else. Feel free in this stream to comment, to speak on it in the chat section if you're watching this video. So first of all, Max Kellerman goes on and says how Terrence Crawford, is one of the most duck guys. And they kept on repeating this over, and Kell Brook stepped up to the plate and faced him. If he's so ducked, why does Sean Porter want to face him? Right? He turned down the Sean Porter fight. We all know this. And that's the fight we really want to see, not Kell Brook. Then Max Kellerman said something really stupid, which is, oh, this guy's on the level of PBC fighters. How could he be on the level of the PBC champions? How could he be? He's not even ranked in the top 10 welterweights in the welterweight division right now. So these are the kinds of stuff that I don't like about ESPN. Are they overhype something? Basically, they're super overhyping Kell Brook. So because they think, because the betting odds are, Kell Brook's a 7-1 underdog. And I suggest you guys bet on Kell Brook to get the win, because if you do get returns, you're getting 7 times whatever you put down in the bet. But that's besides the point. The other thing is, the reason why they're thinking that Kell Brook would lose this fight is because they know his 2 orbitals were fractured. And so that's why they don't know. They're still questioning Kell Brook's eyes. But think about this. Kell Brook has been in 3 fights since the Errol Spence fight, right? And he hasn't had any eye orbital problems against opponents that hit him in the head. So if they're banking on Kell Brook being damaged goods in this fight to guarantee Crawford's success, and this fight should be a closer fight. I looked at the weigh-ins. I looked at Kell Brook's composure, and this fight should be in the betting odds, it should be closer, but that's besides the point. So finally, we're getting to see Terrence Crawford face somebody who's kind of remotely close to the competition that he would face. As I said before, and ESPN keeps on pushing a lot of crap. I see ESPN, there are a number of different things ESPN does that I don't like. The first one is, okay, you're a network that's competing with fighters on Fox and Showtime. Fine. But there are 2 things they do that is very negative, and then they try to philosophize it away. The first one is they try to trivialize Money Mayweather's accomplishments. Okay? The only guys who respect Money Mayweather is Timothy Bradley. He actually stood up for Money Mayweather, because Timothy Bradley realized that Mayweather got, not just he faced the creme de la creme of boxing, but he did it making the most amount of money at the same time. All right? And over, I listened to ESPN hammer the point that Mayweather versus Pacquiao happened very late, when in fact, it is Pacquiao that held up those negotiations. Okay? Pacquiao didn't want to do the deals. Bob Arum milked Pacquiao for all he was worth, and then took the majority of the money that Pacquiao earned anyway from that fight. Okay? So let's stop with the bullshit. Okay? Mayweather wanted to face Pacquiao in 2010 when it was all hot. Let's stop with the bullshit. Okay? ESPN is coming with these stupid ass narratives. Next thing that they're going as the PBC fighters are ducking Terrence Crawford. That's bullshit. All right? It's bullshit. They need to stop with these stupid ass narratives. They ducked him. I literally listened to the Mark, whatever his name is. his narration is that the PBC fighters ducked Terrence Crawford. Ain't nobody ducking Terrence Crawford. Sean Porter said, hey man, I'm available. And Terrence Crawford went the other way. So let's stop with the bullshit. All right. And secondly, Kell Brook is not on the level of the current welterweights right now. Skill wise, yes. But he's not ranked in the same level as a Danny Garcia, as a Keith Thurman, as a Showtime Sean Porter, as a Errol Spence. It's just what it is. So let's be realistic. That's why he's a 7-1 underdog. Okay? So let's stop with the bullshit, ESPN. Now, let's be realistic. I'm a real one. I'm a truth teller. I'm not a bullshit artist. Okay? ESPN went on again to say some other bullshit things, which I don't like. Now, I understand Terrence Crawford's close with Andre Ward and he's close with Timothy Bradley. So that's their boy. I get it. ESPN, the family, I get it. This is for Terrence Crawford to make a mark for himself. Right? I get it. But you gotta at least, we all know Kell Brook is in there to be food for Terrence Crawford. That's what the game plan is. That's what the game plan is. You know what I'm saying? The fact that Dominic Ingles not even there is because Top Rank did a negotiation with Kell Brook and he don't even have his trainer there. We get it. I see what it is. And Kell Brook have to sell the fight. I get it. But they're underestimating Kell Brook. At least ESPN is. Right? They're underestimating Kell Brook. As they will find out. But I want to go into something else. Because I said this is a fight I wanted to see. I wanted to see him against Kell Brook. Okay? That's a step-up fight for Terrence Crawford. If Terrence Crawford don't realize that, that's a step-up fight for him. And I know he's a dog and all of that, but that's a step-up fight for him. He's not no Felix Diaz. Kell Brook is not no Felix Diaz. And if you think you're going to sharpshoot him on his eye and break his eye orbital, that bullshit ain't going to work. Okay? I'm just being real with you guys. I'm letting you guys understand the situation that Terrence Crawford has ahead of him as Kell Brook has ahead of him. I'm not saying Kell Brook ever faced anybody like Terrence Crawford, but he's faced high caliber opposition on Terrence Crawford's level. Terrence Crawford is now about to face a guy who was an A-level fighter. He's not there anymore. He's not ranked as an A-level fighter. But that does not mean that he didn't have the skills and abilities and the capacity to be one. So here's a couple caveats for you guys to consider. If Kell Brook's eyes are not a factor in this fight, what can Terrence Crawford do to beat Kell Brook? My thing is, the only way, and it's always a good thing to do, is start going to the body as soon as possible. The body of Kell Brook. As much as Kell Brook I looked at the weigh-in, and he looked fine. He looked fine. He looked in tremendous shape. I looked at him from the other weigh-ins, and he always looks in tremendous shape. So that's not something really. He made the welterweight limit, just barely, but he made it. He is a big welterweight. But we all know size does not win you fights. Skills do. Skills win you fights. Now, Kell Brook is a very precise, very accurate, offensively responsible, defensively responsible fighter. Okay? Classy, all-round skills and ability. He's like a thoroughbred. So that's what he brings to the table. Okay? Decision-making, not the best decision-making. He sometimes gets into, mixes and spats that probably he shouldn't do. But in terms of boxing IQ, knowledge, skill, this guy has everything. Okay? He has all the tools to beat a Terrence Crawford. All right? I'm being honest with you. He has the tools to beat a Terrence Crawford. But as to, all the hype on this fight that it's getting, like if it's some sort of super fight, I don't see it the same way how everybody else sees it. Okay? Now, here's the thing. Kell Brook's talking about his brownies and all of that. I don't really care about that. because when it comes down to skills, skills is what win you fights. You know, you can have all the power in the world. You can even be a very a very accurate puncher, but at the end of the day, what will win you the fights is the skills, because you can be accurate, but you're missing a guy all night long. So depending on Terrence Crawford's game plan, we will see what can happen. And we all know Terrence Crawford's a very competitive guy. Um, and he loves to win, and he works to win. So that's a great mentality. Well conditioned athlete, stays ready all the time. You know, Kell Brooks, he okay, so he stayed in shape, he got ready. That's good for him. But he's now doing this. You know what I mean? He used to balloon up in weight, come back down. Terrence Crawford always stays ready. So that's again another plus. Terrence Crawford really keeps himself in elite condition, elite shape all the time. So that's a plus for Terrence right there. Um, so like I said before, when I looked at the weigh-in, and I'm listening to them enjoy each other, I noticed that Kell Brook was very, very calm. Like Kell Brook, as much as his face is stern and everything, he's very calm, he's very composed. That's interesting. Okay. Kell Brook's not the fastest fighter in the world. He's not the most, well, he's quite athletic, but he's not the most athletic fighter in the world either. I think he's just well schooled in boxing. But the question will be, did he, since his last fight, develop other tools? So what I have to do is I have to go back to the fight and see what other tools he brings to the table than the ones I know about. He has great timing. He has great placement. He's great at counterpunching. He's got really good pivot work. I mean, his pivot work is beautiful. And if that pivot works on point, Terrence Crawford is going to have a hard night ahead of him, especially if he's pursuing the fight and Kell decides to lay back and counter him. Because Kell can also switch hit. Kell has much shorter chopping shots than Terrence Crawford does. Terrence Crawford loops his shots a lot more. So there's a lot of things that I'm looking at as I analyze the fight. And then there's the intangibles. Kell Brook, wanting this fight, but the limits, the level to which Kell Brook went to get this fight, is also very interesting. The other things, there's so many different factors going on here. There's Terrence Crawford. The rumors that his contract expires October 2021, and he may not renew with Top Rank. I don't think so. I think he's going to stay with Top Rank, and the reason I say that is because that's just to get people's attention. That's a whole year. That's the whole of next year, and by then he should have gotten the Errol Spence fight anyway. So I really don't think that that's going to be a factor. I think he stays with Top Rank. And he stays with Bob Arum. I think they're playing it out, looking for guys that are credible. They can find on the fringe to face that people would be interested in. Because this is a fight clearly people are interested in terms of Crawford facing Kell Brook. People are interested in this fight, right? This is a fight people wanted to see. I wanted to see it. It's strange how people, all of a sudden they change their minds and they're like, oh yeah, Kell Brook. People were saying, oh, Kell Brook's damaged goods. All of a sudden, Kell Brook is, because he's in such good shape and all of that. But it is what it is. People are very inconsistent. They're very flippant. I always liked this fight. I thought Terrence Crawford should have taken it earlier on. This is a step-up fight. Kell Brook is not on the level of the current welterweights in the division at present, mainly because those guys have stepped up to a whole other level, right? They've not only had championship experience and so on, but they've retained championship experience. They fought one another. They've been fighting high caliber opponents. Kell Brooks has, in his entire career, 2 high caliber opponents. He's had Triple G, actually 3. Sean Porter, Triple G, and Errol Spence, right? Now he's going in to face Terrence Crawford. I think what's interesting about this fight is I'm going to compare his performance to Amir Khan's performance, right? So we'll see how he fares against Terrence Crawford versus how Amir Khan fared against Terrence Crawford. Amir Khan was obliterated by Terrence Crawford. He was beaten up quite a lot. Terrence Crawford couldn't get him out of there, but he was beaten up quite a lot. In this fight, he will not be able to do to Kell Brook what he did to Amir Khan. Amir Khan is not in any way on the level of a Kell Brook. Kell Brook has sweet timing. Timing beats speed, as we all know. Kell Brook is well poised. He's a very well balanced fighter. He uses great pivots. So Kell Brook is a much higher caliber fighter than Amir Khan. And a lot of people say, "Well, Amir Khan accomplished so much." Yeah, but he mostly counts on his speed, his explosiveness, and his quickness. Whereas Kell Brook depends on his timing. Kell Brook is a fighter who depends on timing, sweet timing. He's really good with that. And that's the thing that Terrence Crawford will have to deal with. Terrence Crawford will learn very quickly why Kell Brook said that size counts, because certain shots that he would normally land on a bigger guy will do almost absolutely nothing to Kell Brook early on in the fight. Okay. And if he's banking on breaking Kell Brook's eye orbital, if that's what he's banking on, he may be rudely disappointed, right? I'm trying to explain to people and break down certain things about Kell Brook, right? So Kell Brook's a good test. My thing in this fight will be this. In the middle rounds, I want to see if Kell Brook will fade or if he will actually get stronger and better as the fight progresses. Kell Brook has had a long time. I haven't looked at all his fights, but if I if I can look at some of his fights, I'll be able to determine if Kell Brook could win this fight. That's why I said I have to look into it a little bit more, see what he's done recently in his fights, and see how it was preparing him for a fight like this. Because Kell Brook wanted this fight. Kell Brook called out Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford didn't call out Kell Brook. Kell Brook called out Terrence Crawford after the Amir Khan fight. He said, "I want to face this guy," right? And he's going to get this opportunity. And I think that I have to go and look in a little bit more detail about Kell Brook before I can say what exactly could transpire in this fight. But for me, the part in Kell Brook's game that I always found was lacking was in the middle rounds, he tends to waver. Early on in the fight, he's doing well, and in the middle rounds, he allows his opponents to come back. Now, if he's consistent throughout the fight, he can win this fight. He really can, if he's consistent throughout the fight. And another thing that I hope he does in this fight is go to Terrence's body. Terrence does protect his body pretty well, but Kell Brook is a counterpuncher. So just as how he easily can tie up a guy, I hope he can work Terrence Crawford's body on the inside. Now, Kell's very good at tying up people on the inside and stuff like that. But that's something that I notice is always usually missing in Kell Brook's game. But other than that, I think Kell can be Kell. The more important thing with Kell is whether he can make the full duration of the fight without fading at certain points in the fight. I think that's where Errol Spence he had superior condition on Kell and was able to start landing body punches on Kell. And Errol's a brutal body puncher, as we all know. And that's how Errol was able to chop down Kell and get him out of there, I think in the 11th round, I think it was. It wasn't just the eye orbital thing. Excuse me. Kell was actually losing rounds. So this is the avenue through which I think Terrence Crawford could take down Kell if he's doing a body assault. I think the body assault is the key to getting at Kell. The question is, can Kell work body assaults as well? And the other thing that works against Terrence to some degree, Kell has fought all the way up to 154, which means Kell comes in 160 something, 170 something. Okay. What that means is he's been hit by guys who are much bigger than Terrence Crawford. You know, he's fought guys which are much stronger than Terrence Crawford. And while Terrence Crawford is solid, he's strong, he's fit, he's very well coordinated in sports in general, he can't afford to make certain flaws with Kell. He just can't. You know, the room for error is even smaller because now he's in the league with a guy who's borderline elite. We almost call him elite. He's not on the level of the PBC fighters right now that are currently fighting the PBC. He's just a little bit below them. You understand? He's a little bit below them right now. But because of the previous fights he's had and the opponents he's had, okay, and also his performances, one of the performances wasn't that great. He's borderline. Terrence is finally stepping up to a guy who was the top tier guy at a certain point, and lost two fights, and that took him down a couple of notches out of the top 10 welterweights, and then he didn't fight a welterweight for a while, right? So this is a big guy. This is like Terrence going up to 154, except he's not. He's pulling a 154 pounder down to 147, and the 154 pounder will go back up to 154. And there's a different kind of power at 154. And Cal has displayed that he can, at least with some of the, mediocre guys, he can get him out of there at 154. Okay, his power carried up. So Cal Brook he's not a true 154 pounder, but he's a tremendously big 147 pounder. He's a big, solid, strong, and there's a difference between an elite 147 pounder and their power and their strength compared to a Cavaliauskas or Jeff Horn. Okay, it's just different. Like Cal Brook versus Jeff Horn, I got Cal Brook all day. See, so that's what I'm saying. Like Jeff Horn's irregular. He's got irregular footwork. He's kind of fidgety, but Cal would time him and just get him out of there. He would knock out Jeff Horn. Okay, and Keith Thurman and all the other elite guys would do that. So Terrence is an elite guy. Don't get me wrong. Does everything right, etc. But so does Danny Garcia. So does Showtime Sean Porter. You know what I mean? The lifestyle and the work ethic is the same with these other guys. So Terrence is not like exception to the rule. Kell Brook is now becoming dedicated to the sport of boxing, like a Sean Porter or like Danny Garcia. Okay, so and Errol Spence is now dedicating to the sport. I realize and trying to stay on weight. These guys don't have the dedication like a Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, or Terrence Crawford. Now, saying all of this, excuse me, I'm trying to break it down as nice and neat and concise so you can factor in all the factors that I'm talking about. I wish ESPN wouldn't hype up these guys like that. It's a tremendous fight, though. It's a great fight for Terrence Crawford, seeing that he can't get the PBC fighters right now. Kell Brook is a solid guy. Um, and Terrence is going to have some difficulties. He's going to have to solve some problems. And when he gets in there, and same for Kell Brook, he's going to have to find Terrence. Terrence is going to try and make him find him, and there's a little bit of back and forth. We'll see how it works out. um, Terrence is thinking that he's got that strength and power to handle a Kell Brook and to display what he's got. I think he better be careful how he engages, though. Otherwise, Kell could drop him. He could put him down. Kell's big, strong. He's very big, strong. You know how he fought Benavidez? He should fight something like that against Kell because, you know, Kell's solid. He's not just big and powerful. You can see he's solid. He's strong. So it should be an interesting fight. Um, there's one more thing I want to talk about, and that is when you're looking at fights, you're not just looking at styles. You're looking at how fighters approach the fights. If you look at Kell, he's conserving his energy. He's taking his time. He goes through the interviews. And that's his way of conserving energy. Now with Terrence is conserving his energy, but he's also trying to mentally get into the head of Kell Brook, which did not succeed on this occasion. But there's something about Kell Brook and what he said, which resonates in my head, and that's why I don't know if I don't think he's 100%. That's just me. I may be reading into, but Kell Brook's talking about having an exciting fight. He's not really promising or guaranteeing that he'll get the W. He doesn't say that over and over. He said it about once or twice. But he's talking about an exciting fight. Now, there are two things I want people to understand. Kel's a clean fighter. Kel clinches. See how nasty my cough is? And that's just because of fucking reflux. But anyway. Yes, Kel clinches, but he's a classy fighter. Okay. Now, the one thing I notice is he's not super adamant about winning, even though he speaks it and then he's done with that. He talks about exciting fight, talks about the fact that he has to be on his A game because he recognizes that Terrence Crawford is a very, very, very good fighter. In fact, some people consider him the number one pound for pound fighter. I consider Canelo number one pound for pound, but some people consider Terrence Crawford number one pound for pound. So at the end of the day, we will see, right? I do think that Terrence Crawford brings an array of skills other than switch hitting to the table with his timing and his rhythm and stuff. But I also feel to a point that his flaw is that he engages a little too much. And as competitive as he is, at the highest level, you can't be doing that. You'll pay for it. And against a guy like Brook, who specializes in that, Terrence could pay for it very dearly, and he could be on his butt. Okay? He was put on his butt by Kavaliauskas because he underestimated Kavaliauskas. Kavaliauskas is somewhat of a one-dimensional fighter, yes, but at the same time, he sort of underestimated him. And if you're going to try and be so once he's smart in there, it's now going to be chess, and that's what we need him to be. We need Terrence Crawford to be smart in there and look for his opportunities. Learn what Brook does, and look for his opportunities to exploit that. So once he does that, now Brook will have to come back with something, and that's the kind of fight I would love to see, where it's chess and not just trying to bang with a guy. But it should be interesting. It should be an interesting fight, right? So that's what I got to say. ESPN needs to stop and calm the hell down. They need to stop trying to see the same thing HBO did. ESPN is doing, and it only is going to affect their network negatively. The more you try to put down the accomplishments of PBC fighters and make your fighters look good, like with the Teofimo Lopez, how they try to put down Tank. Oh, Tank went down in weight and fought a smaller guy. Yeah, but he went down in weight, just like what Kell Brook's doing now with Terrence Crawford. Okay? It's hard to go down in weight. So he went down in weight and he faced Leo Santa Cruz. And Leo Santa Cruz should have been a pound for pound fighter. But it is what it is. Okay? In boxing, it is what it is. Don't put down the fighter because he's not on your network and you're not pushing him. You should be promoting all fighters if you say you're a fan of all fighters. Of course, Teofimo Lopez win would be a bigger win than Tank's win. That goes without saying. We're not saying no. But Teofimo Lopez didn't knock out Lomachenko either. He didn't knock out Lomachenko. Yeah, everybody's going on Devin Haney. Oh, he didn't knock out Urarkas Gamboa. And he's a veteran, just like Lomachenko. Okay, he's only got 3 losses on his record. Right? And he knows how to survive. So when people say, well, Devin Haney ain't got no power because he didn't knock out Gamboa, well, then that translates to Teofimo Lopez ain't got no power because Lomachenko was walking through some of his shots. Okay? But he did not get Lomachenko out of there, right? So you can't say that. And Devin Haney versus Teofimo Lopez is a good fight. It's a good matchup. But ESPN, again, with their narratives, Top Rank, with they're always trying to be a prima donna. Everybody must come to them. They must go to ESPN. We're not on that bullshit. Right? Can't be on that bullshit. So that's all I got to say. But with respect to narratives and so on. This is a good fight, though. It's still a good fight for Terrence. It's a good fight for Brook. Um, the way how it is promoted and packaged obviously shows that Terrence Crawford's the A side and it favors him to win. So he should be able to do that. And of course, people will look to see the manner in which he wins. But what if Kell Brook has been underestimated? What if the networks and so on? Oh, we got him. Oh, we got him exclusively in top ranked contract. We got him away from Eddie Earn. Matchrooms has nothing to do with this fight. Oh, we got him away from his trainer. And they think that Kell Brook won't come up to the table and do what he needs to do. Oh, he's damaged goods. His two eyeballs got damaged. This is the kind of stuff why, of course, odd makers have this fight the way it's scored. And then Terrence Crawford's an excellent pound for pound #1 fighter and all of that. But what if Kell Brook defies those odds? What if Kell Brook comes in there and he's truly ready? What if Terrence Crawford can't trouble Kell Brook with his punches? What happens then? I'm just saying a what if. Terrence Crawford has to resort to other things other than just banging or trying to outpower a Kell Brook. I'm not saying that Terrence Crawford won't have the power to do that because he's gotten stronger. I look at his boxing skills. I looked at him, shadow boxing and stuff. Beautiful stuff. But I gotta be devil's advocate here because Terrence Crawford's got almost everything in his favor for this fight. He's got the network promotion. He's fighting in his country. He's the A side. He has every single A side advantage you could think of. So ultimately, and supposedly Kell Brook is damaged goods. So ultimately, supposedly, and I always told everybody, Kell Brook is not damaged goods. I've told you guys that. And a lot of people was like, oh, Kell Brook is damaged goods. Now everybody's tune has changed, right? Kell Brook's not damaged goods. I'll tell you that right now. Going into this fight, like I said before, the thing that Terrence Crawford needs to work on is Kell Brook's body. If Kell Brook affords him or allows him to go to the body, because Kell Brook can tie you up. It depends on the referee also and what the referee decides to do with Kell Brook if he wants to penalize him for tying up Terrence Crawford. But it's very hard to penalize Kell Brook because as much as he may clinch you or tie you up, he doesn't tie you up for very long. Like he just catches your glove in there, and he's got all these subtle little things. But I noticed that Kell Brook, he doesn't always protect his body very well. So this is where I think Terrence Crawford may have some opportunity to wear him down. Stop him, maybe not. It depends. I can't really say. See, there's a lot of things I can't really say. I have to see what Kell Brook brings to the table, what his game is. I have to look at his most recent fights to see if he's changed up anything in terms of his defensive vulnerabilities. So, because I think that Terrence possibly may have a better defense than Kell Brook. Kell Brook fights one way that I know of. He likes to come forward. He likes to fight you coming forward. So it'd be interesting to see Terrence backing up Kell Brook and see what Kell Brook can do on the defensive end of the spectrum. So these are all things that I think Terrence is aware of. And see how Kell Brook fights off the back foot. I always thought that Kell Brook was more vulnerable on the back foot than on the front foot. Kell Brook fights better on the front foot than on the back foot. So all of that's interesting stuff. So I think all of that favors Terrence Crawford in this fight. Because Terrence Crawford can do it all. He can fight off the back foot, the front foot. He can bring the heat. He can bang. And Kell, he fights off the back foot, don't get me wrong. He pivots left or right. He can do that, but he does it more on the counter. He doesn't really stay outside the pocket. Kell Brook's a guy that fights in the pocket. but he can be vulnerable against the ropes, especially. Now, Kel can roll punches and he does it all. Okay, but it's just that I find that he's more vulnerable. Even though against Sean Porter, he did an excellent job of kind of taking that away from Sean Porter, because Sean Porter was really good. A little bit wild though. But Kel's a very composed fighter. Uh, he really times you. That's his thing, and that's how he gets you out of there, right? So we'll see how this fight pans out. We'll see how the players play the game. I do think that I will be able to give you guys a prediction sometime tomorrow. But tonight, I just wanted to see the way and stuff, see and assess the fighters, and just talk to you guys about how ESPN continuously says a lot of baloney. I hate it. I hate when people lie. I hate when people say untruthful things. Try to rate Kell Brook on the same level as a Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, or a Terrence Crawford. I'm sorry, not a Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, Keith Thurman. You know, he's not on the same level as those guys. Keith Thurman's faced Manny Pacquiao, um, lost by split decision. He's faced Danny Garcia, he's faced Sean Porter, he's faced Robert Guerrero, he's faced, he's faced a number of names in boxing. And, Cal Brooker has faced Gennady Golovkin, he got stopped. He faced Errol Spence, he got stopped. He beat Sean Porter. Okay. So at the end of the day, um, Sean Porter, is two-time, world champion, WBC and IBF world champion. You know, he's lost some, but he's also beaten some. Danny Garcia, two-divisional champ, unified champ at 140. Cal Brook's not on the level of those guys, but he was at one point in time. He was the number one welterweight in the world after beating Sean Porter and then after defending his title successfully a couple times. So Cal Brook brings to the table, a classy, skilled, well-refined boxer. That's what he brings to the table, boxing. Now, Terrence can try and make it rough and rugged. It's another thing you could try and do. Make it rough and rugged for Kell Brook and take the fight to him at certain points in time. So there are different things Terrence Crawford could do. There are different things Kell Brook could do. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I think that when you're talking boxing, I'm coming to the assessment that I need to come to. But when you're talking boxing, I think that it's going to be somewhat of a stiff challenge for Terrence Crawford, especially if Kell Brook's eyes are fine. It's going to be a stiff challenge because Kell Brook is a big guy, and I mean, body work is critical in boxing. Body work is critical in boxing, and Kell Brook does keep his elbows low. So he don't really get hit with a whole lot of shots. He catches some shots and stuff. But it'll be interesting to see if Terrence, uses some of the blueprint of Errol Spence, some of the blueprint from Gennady Golovkin, to break down Kell Brook. All right. So, but I gotta go look at Kell Brook to see if he evolved from what he last was, because that's the key here. Did he evolve? He's talking about size and all that, and that's cool. But if he's essentially the same fighter, then I think the results are going to go Terrence Crawford's way. I think he's going to win the fight. It's not going to be easy, okay, but he's going to win the fight. So that's where I look at it. This is a nice, as we say, step-up fight to face, say, Errol Spence, for example, or or Keith Thurman that he wants, or Danny Garcia that he wants, or Manny Pacquiao that he wants. It's a good step-up fight. So that's why I said I wanted to see him face somebody solid. And Kell Brook's a solid guy all around when it comes to boxing. He's not, I repeat again, ESPN is talking bullshit. He is not on the level of the current top 10 welterweights in the division. Well, at least the top the top 7 welterweights in the division. He's not. He's not on that level. If he beats Terrence Crawford, of course he will be. Or if he has a close fight with Terrence Crawford, he's still not on that level. Even if he has a close fight with Terrence Crawford. The only time, even if he beats, okay, he beats Terrence Crawford. Let's say he beats Terrence Crawford, then he will be positioned. He'll be automatically positioned up there. But even if he has a close fight with Terrence Crawford, but we can't say he is as accomplished or he is as top tier as the PBC fighters at present. It's just what it is. You know, even though I think he's a better boxer. Yeah, he's a better boxer than Danny Garcia, I think. Boxer. Not talking about. I think he's a better boxer than Danny Garcia. He's a premier guy. It's just, you know. All right. So if you guys are leaving any comments in the comment section, if you guys are saying nothing, you guys have said absolutely nothing. You're just here watching my video. That's cool. But I prefer if you guys leave some comments, say something. You guys are just watching this video trying to understand what I'm saying, and you guys sign out and go your way. But I give you the real. I don't bullshit. You know, everybody else is going to bullshit. I don't bullshit you guys. You're going to get the real with this channel. I'm going to catch you later. I'm what you need. Peace.